Dune, Part 2 is a 2024 American epic space opera film directed by Denis Villeneuve, who co-wrote the screenplay with John Spates. The sequel to Dune, 2021, it is the second of a two-part adaptation of the 1965 novel Dune by Frank Herbert. It follows Paul Atreides as he unites with the Fremen people of the desert planet Arrakis to wage war against House Harkonnen. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Charlotte Rampling, and Javier Bardem reprise their roles from the first film, with Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, and Léa Seydoux joining the cast. Development began after Legendary Entertainment acquired film and television rights for the Dune franchise in 2016. Villeneuve signed on as director in 2017, intending to make a two-part adaptation of the novel due to its complexity. Production contracts were only secured for the first film before the second film was greenlit by Legendary in October 2021, subject to the success of the first. Principal photography took place in Budapest, Italy, Jordan, and Abu Dhabi between July and December 2022. Delayed from a November 2023 release date due to the 2023 Hollywood labor disputes, Dune, Part 2 premiered at the Auditorio Nacional in Mexico City on February 6, 2024. It was released in the United States on March 1 to positive reviews and grossed $714 million worldwide, surpassing its predecessor and becoming the seventh highest grossing film of 2024. It received numerous accolades, including being named one of the top 10 films of 2024 by the American Film Institute. It received 5 nominations at the 97th Academy Awards, including Best Picture, winning Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. It also won 2 BAFTAs for Best Sound and Best Special Visual Effects, and received 2 nominations at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards, including Best Motion Picture Drama. Dune, Part 3, a third film partly based on Herbert's 1969 novel Dune Messiah, is in production and scheduled to be released on December 18, 2026. Plot: following the defeat of House Atreides by House Harkonnen, a Princess Irulan, daughter of the Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV records in her journal her father's betrayal of the Atreides. On the planet Arrakis, a Fremen tribe led by Stilgar accompanies Paul Atreides and his pregnant Bene Gesserit mother Lady Jessica to siege Tibr. Some Fremen suspect they are spies, while Stilgar and others see signs of the prophecy that a mother and son from the outer world will bring prosperity to Arrakis. The Fremen accept Paul, but Stilgar commands Jessica to succeed siege Tibr's dying Reverend Mother by ritually drinking the normally fatal water of life. She uses her Bene Gesserit training to transmute the poisonous liquid and survive, inheriting the memories of past Reverend Mothers. The liquid prematurely awakens the mind of her unborn daughter, Alia, allowing Jessica to communicate with her. They agree to focus on convincing the more skeptical northern Fremen of the prophecy, which Chani and her friend Shishakli correctly deduce to be a myth fabricated by the Bene Gesserit to manipulate the Fremen. Nonetheless, Chani begins to respect Paul after he declares that he only seeks to fight alongside the Fremen, not rule them. Paul and Chani fall in love as Paul immerses himself in Fremen culture, learning their language, becoming a Fadakin fighter, riding a sandworm, and raiding Harkonnen spice harvesting operations. Paul adopts the Fremen names Uzul, translate the strength of a pillar, and Muad'Dib, translate kangaroo mouse. Due to the continuing spice raids, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen installs his cunning and sadistic nephew Phaedratha as Arrakis ruler. Lady Margot Fenring of the Bene Gesserit is sent to evaluate Phaedratha as a prospective Kwisatz Haderach and secure his genetic lineage. Jessica travels south to unite with Fremen fundamentalists who believe most strongly in the prophecy. Paul remains in the north, fearful that his visions of an apocalyptic holy war will come to pass if he goes south as a messiah. During a raid on a smuggler spice harvester, Paul reunites with the warrior Gurney Halleck, who leads Paul to House Atreides' hidden atomic warhead stockpile. Phaedratha unleashes a devastating attack on the northern Fremen, destroying Siege Tibr, killing Shishakli, and forcing Paul and the survivors to journey south. Upon arrival, Paul drinks the water of life and falls into a coma. Jessica hypnotically compels Chani to save Paul. She gives Paul a mixture of her tears with the water of life, which awakens him. Now possessing clairvoyance across space and time, Paul sees a narrow path to victory among all possible futures, and an adult Alia on water-filled Arrakis. He also learns that Jessica is the Baron's daughter, assigned as concubine to Duke Leto by the Bene Gesserit to unite House Harkonnen and House Atreides in furtherance of their plan to produce the Kwisatz Haderach. Paul meets with the Southern Fremen War Council, galvanizing the crowd by demonstrating his ability to discern their deepest thoughts. He declares himself the Lisan al-Gaib, a messianic figure, and challenges the Emperor, who arrives on Arrakis with Irulan and the Sardaukar military force. As the Emperor chastises the Harkonnens for their failures, the Fremen launch an offensive, using atomics and sandworms to overpower the Sardaukar. Paul kills the Baron and captures the Emperor. Meanwhile, Gurney leads an assault on Arrakeen, intercepting and killing Phaedratha's brother and subordinate Beast Rabban. Paul challenges the Emperor for the throne and, to Chani's dismay, demands to marry Irulan. Having been summoned by the Baron, the other great houses arrive in orbit, ready to invade the planet, but Paul threatens to destroy the spice fields if they intervene. Phaedratha volunteers as the Emperor's champion and is killed by Paul in their duel. Irulan agrees to marry Paul on condition that he spare her father. The Emperor reluctantly surrenders, but the great houses reject Paul's ascendancy and Paul orders the Fremen to attack the orbiting fleet. As Stilgar leads the Fremen onto the captured Sardaukar ships, Jessica and Alia reflect on the beginning of Paul's holy war. Chani refuses to bow to Paul and prepares to depart alone on a sandworm. Cast: Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides, the exiled Duke of House Atreides who sides with the Fremen to overthrow the tyrannical House Harkonnen. Zendaya as Chani, a young and rebellious Fremen warrior who is Paul's love interest. 5. Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, Paul's Bene Gesserit mother and concubine to Paul's late father and predecessor, Leto Atreides. Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck, the former military leader of House Atreides and Paul's mentor and friend. Austin Butler as Phaedratha, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen's youngest nephew and heir, N.A. Baron, to House Harkonnen. Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan, the Emperor's eldest daughter, heiress presumptive and Bene Gesserit initiate. Dave Bautista as Rabban, nephew of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and older brother of Phaedratha. Christopher Walken as Emperor Shaddam IV, the Padishah Emperor of the known universe and head of House Corino. Léa Seydoux as Lady Margot Fenring, a Bene Gesserit and close friend of the Emperor. Suhala Yacoub as Shishakli, a Fremen warrior and Chani's friend. Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, head of House Harkonnen and former steward of Arrakis, enemy to the Atreides, uncle of Phaedratha and Rabban. Charlotte Rampling as Reverend Mother Moyam, a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother and the Emperor's truth-sayer. Javier Bardem as Stilgar, leader of the Fremen tribe at Siechtibr. Anya Taylor-Joy makes an uncredited cameo appearance as Alia Atreides, Paul's unborn sister who appears in his visions as well as communicating to Jessica while in her womb. 6-7 Bobs Oluzenmakin and Roger Ewan reprise their roles from the first film as Jamies and Lieutenant Lanville, respectively. Stephen McKinley Henderson filmed scenes reprising his role as Thufir Hawat, while Tim Blake Nelson filmed scenes as an undisclosed character 8-9, but their scenes were not included in the final cut. Both were given a special thanks credit by Villeneuve. 10. Production. Development. Denis Villeneuve returned to direct and co-write Dune, Part 2. In November 2016, Legendary Pictures obtained the film and TV rights for the Dune franchise, based on the eponymous 1965 novel by Frank Herbert. 11 Vice Chair of Worldwide Production for Legendary Mary Parent began discussing with Denis Villeneuve about directing a film adaptation, quickly hiring him after realizing his passion for Dune. 12 In February 2018, Villeneuve was confirmed to be hired as director, and intended to adapt the novel as a two-part film series. 13-14 Villeneuve ultimately secured a two-film deal with Warner Bros. Pictures, in the same style as the two-part adaptation of Stephen King's It in 2017 and 2019. 15 In January 2019, Joe Walker was confirmed as the film's editor. 16 Other crew included Brad Riker as supervising art director, Patrice Vermette as production designer, Paul Lambert as visual effects supervisor, Gerd Nefzer as special effects supervisor, and Thomas Struthers as stunt coordinator. 17. Dune, Part 2 was produced by Villeneuve, Mary Parent, and Cale Boiter, with Tanya LaPointe, Brian Herbert, Byron Merritt, Kim Herbert, Thomas Tull, John Spates, Richard P. Rubenstein, John Harrison, and Herbert W. Gain serving as executive producers and Kevin J. Anderson as creative consultant. 18 Legendary CEO Joshua Grode confirmed in April 2019 that they plan to make a sequel, adding that there's a logical place to stop the first movie before the book is over. 19. In December 2020, Villeneuve stated that due to Warner Bros.' plan to release the film in theaters and on HBO Max simultaneously, the first film could underperform financially, resulting in cancellation of the planned sequel. 20 In an IMAX screening of the first film's first 10 minutes, the title logo read Dune, Part 1, lending credence to plans for the sequel. 21 In August 2021, Villeneuve spoke more confidently about the chances of a sequel film, iterating his excitement to work with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya again. 22 While stating Chani would have a bigger role in the sequel. 23 Warner Bros. Assured Villeneuve a sequel would be greenlit as long as the film performed well on HBO Max. 24 Just days prior to the first film's release, Warner Bros. CEO Ann Sarnoff stated, "Will we have a sequel to Dune? If you watch the movie you see how it ends. I think you pretty much know the answer to that." 25. On October 26, 2021, Legendary officially greenlit Dune, Part 2, with a spokesperson for the company stating, "We would not have gotten to this point without the extraordinary vision of Denis and the amazing work of his talented crew, the writers, our stellar cast, our partners at Warner Bros., and of course the fans. Here's to more Dune." 26 Production work had occurred back-to-back with the first film, as Villeneuve and his wife LaPointe immediately took a flight to Budapest in order to begin pre-production work. 27 A key point of negotiation prior to greenlighting the sequel was assuring that the sequel would have an exclusive window where it would only be shown theatrically, with Legendary and Warner Bros. Agreeing to give Dune, Part 2 a 45-day window before it would be available through other channels. Villeneuve said this theatrical exclusivity was a non-negotiable condition, and that the theatrical experience is at the very heart of the cinematic language for me. 28 With Dune, Part 2 being greenlit, Villeneuve said that his primary concern was to complete the filming as soon as possible, with the earliest he expected to start in the last quarter of 2022. He noted that production would be expedited by the work already done for the first film. 28. Writing. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and Rebecca Ferguson returned as Paul Atreides, Chani, and Lady Jessica, respectively. Eric Roth was hired to co-write the screenplay in April 2017 for the Dune films. 29 And John Spates was later confirmed to be co-writing the script alongside Roth and Villeneuve. 30 Game of Thrones, 2011 to 2019. Language creator David Peterson was confirmed to be developing languages for the film in April 2019. 31 Villeneuve and Peterson had created the Chicopsa language, which was used by actors on set. 32 In November 2019, Spates stepped down as showrunner for Dune, Prophecy, 2024 present, to focus on Dune, Part 2. 33 In June 2020, Greig Fraser said, "It's a fully formed story in itself with places to go. It's a fully standalone epic film that people will get a lot out of when they see it." 34. Between the release of Dune and the confirmation of Dune, Part 2, Villeneuve started working the script in a way that production could begin immediately once the film was greenlit. 35 By February 2021, Roth created a full treatment for the sequel. 36 With writing beginning that August. 37 He confirmed that Phaedra would appear in the film, and stated he will be a very important character. 38 In March 2022, Villeneuve had mostly finished writing the screenplay. 39 Craig Mazin and Roth wrote additional literary material for the film. 40. Villeneuve stated that the film would continue directly from the first, and specifically described it as being the second part. 41 He described the film as being an epic war movie, adding that while the first film was more contemplative, the second would feature more action. 42 Villeneuve sought to anchor the movie to the characters, primarily Paul and Chani. With the two featured in an epic love story between them, Villeneuve described them as the epicenter of the story. Zendaya initially found difficulty in creating dialogue, commenting that it was funny trying to figure out in this futuristic space talk, like, how do they flirt? Chalamet also added that Paul would be heavily influenced by Chani, serving as his moral compass. Paul becomes deeply embedded in Fremen culture, developing a closer bond with Stilgar, who becomes his surrogate father figure and mentor, while tensions emerge between Chani and Lady Jessica, as Chani is aware that Jessica's schemes negatively impact the Fremen. 41. The script ultimately conveys Chani as a non-believer of the prophecy and intended for its structure to first convey their romantic relationship from Paul's perspective, and eventually pivot to Chani's perspective as the audience realizes Paul's desire for power and insidious nature. 43 He focused on Herbert's original intention to depict Paul as an anti-hero in Dune, on his way to becoming a villain, and wrote the script with that in mind while also considering his future plans regarding Dune Messiah, 1969, particularly by modifying Chani's characterization as he felt that she eventually disappeared in Paul's shadows in the book. 44-45 Feeling he had the benefit of time in doing so, Villeneuve decided to use all the elements of Paul's character arc and play them a bit differently in order to establish his eventual transformation into a villainous figure and becoming what he was trying to fight against. 43 He expanded the role of Chani and Lady Jessica from the novel, and interpreted Chani as being a critique of power. 32. When envisioning the sandworm sequence, Villeneuve primarily relied upon his own drawings and storyboards, as he felt the book did not contain adequate descriptions. He later cited it as being one of his favorite scenes in the film. 46 When writing Paul's character arc, he considered Paul as transforming from a humble figure to a dark messianic figure, and took inspiration from Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira, 1988, when designing the storyboards. 47 Villeneuve felt the film's ending was more tragic than that of the book, feeling that it adequately resolved Paul's storyline across the Dune films while setting up his character arc for a potential third film based on Dune Messiah. 48. Following the first film, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen is described as being heavily debilitated and reliant upon being submerged in fluids, while focusing on choosing an heir, Glossa Beast Rabban or Phaedra Ha, both his nephews. Rabban was regarded as being a bad strategist, while Phaedra Ha is shown to be clever, cunning, and charismatic. 41 Actor Austin Butler felt Phaedra Ha's character served as flip sides of the same coin to Paul, as both had been involved in the Bene Gesserit's genetic breeding program. Butler opined that Phaedra Ha's upbringing on Jidi Prime and self-care for his body explained his arrogance. Meanwhile, Villeneuve noted his psychopathic personality and brutality similar to that of an animal, contrasted with his code of honors and reverence for fighters. 49. Lady Jessica is heavily traumatized by the death of Duke Leto, being compared to Paul as a survivor and strategizing to realize the ambitions of the Bene Gesserit, who aim to fulfill their prophecy to maximize human potential, disregarding morality and ethics. There is additional focus on the political aspect, with Princess Irulan fearing that her father, Emperor Shaddam IV, will lose his throne due to his loss of influence over warring factions. 41 During the sequence of Paul's consumption of the water of life, Villeneuve deliberately altered the time frame to depict an adult Alia for a dramatic effect, and to highlight Alia's unique birth. He and Spates decided to compress the time for both the sequence and Lady Jessica's pregnancy in order to establish more narrative tension. He added that Lady Jessica's conversations with an embryonic Alia was unique, as he felt it was fresh and original to have a character who is powerful and still a pregnant woman while also conveying how others perceive Alia as an abomination. 7 Like Chani and Lady Jessica, Villeneuve further developed Princess Irulan's character and motivations from the novel, with actress Florence Pugh noting her reserved nature and intelligence. 32. Casting. Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, and Christopher Walken joined the cast as Phaedra Ha, Princess Irulan, and Emperor Shaddam IV, respectively. In March 2022, Pugh and Butler were reported to be in talks to star in the film as Princess Irulan and Harkonnen heir Phaedra Ha, respectively. 50-51 Butler was offered the role while having coffee with Villeneuve, without needing to audition. He trained for 4 months in Budapest, using a fitness regimen made by an ex-Navy SEALs member. 52-49 Villeneuve described his performance as being a cross between a psychopath killer, an Olympic sword master, a snake, and Mick Jagger, while Butler researched past cultures he felt bred brutality and took inspiration from various animals including sharks and snakes. 53-54. Butler said that he drew inspiration from Gary Oldman and Heath Ledger for his performance. 55 He imitated Skarsgård's voice as the Baron, as he felt that Fade would be influenced by the Baron due to growing up with him. 15 In May, Christopher Walken joined the cast as Shaddam IV. 56 In June, Léa Seydoux entered negotiations to join the cast as Lady Margot Fenring. 57 In July, Suhaila Yacoub joined the cast as Shisha Klee. 58. In January 2023, Tim Blake Nelson was added to the cast in an undisclosed role. 9 Attending the film's London premiere in February 2024, Anya Taylor-Joy confirmed that she had been cast in the film. 59 Villeneuve was surprised that her role had been kept a secret for that long, noting it required so much work to keep that secret. Her role had been revealed in a casting credit list for the film on Letterboxd. 60. Filming. Pre-shooting began on July 4, 2022, at the Brian Tomb in Altievole, Italy, for 2 days. 61 Principal photography was set to begin on July 21 in Budapest, Hungary. 61 but began earlier on July 18. 862 The film was entirely shot using Arri Alexa LF digital cameras, with new filming locations and sets being used to avoid repetition. 63 In October 2022, Chalamet took a break from filming in order to attend the premiere of Bones and All, 2022. 64 The production team managed to shoot during the partial solar eclipse of October 25, and used the footage for the opening fight scene between Harkonnen and Fremen soldiers. 65 While the scene called for an eclipse, Villeneuve did not know beforehand that filming would coincide with an actual eclipse. In order to ensure that the sun was behind Lady Jessica in a shot where she kills a Harkonnen soldier with a rock, cinematographer Greg Fraser calculated that the shot needed to be filmed at precisely 9:45 in the morning on November 3. 66. That month, production moved to Abu Dhabi and Pugh finished her scenes. 67-68 Certain scenes set at dawn had to be filmed across 3 days to take advantage of the golden hour. 69 A special unit of production filmed scenes with Taylor-Joy in Namibia, the driest country in sub-Saharan Africa. 70 Filming wrapped on December 12, 2022. 71 Due to the delays, Villeneuve was able to make a film transfer for projection using the IMAX 70mm and conventional 70mm film formats. 35. Pugh delivered Princess Irulan's opening narration during her first day of filming and for overall production. 72 Villeneuve and Fraser filmed Phaedra Ha's gladiator sequence with specially designed black and white infrared cameras. They wanted the Harkonnens to cheer and stomp rather than applaud, and designed over 30 sections for spectators in the arena. 73 Butler spent his first week on set filming the scene, while the set had very high temperatures that caused some people to faint. 74 He also improvised his kiss scene with the Baron. 75. For romantic scenes between Paul and Chani, the scenes were primarily filmed in remote locations in Jordan during the golden hour. The scenes were often filmed as quickly as possible, with only a 1-hour window being available. 41 The scene of Paul's sandworm ride was filmed practically on a production unit, separate from the main one, led by producer Tanya Lapointe and a special team. Chalamet filmed his scenes on a platform meant to imitate a portion of the sandworm, with gripping devices serving as the reference for the Freeman hooks. An industrial fan blew sand on set to emulate the desert climate. 76 Chalamet estimated the scene took over 3 months to film, with individual shoots occurring over a span of 20-30 minutes. As the actual sandworm was not built and there were no reference shots, the production team designed a small portion of the worm on set and the actors had to physically visualize and imitate riding the sandworm. 77-78. Butler and Chalamet separately trained with a Cali instructor in Los Angeles for the climactic battle between Paul and Phaedra. They were excited to do the scene, and immediately began practicing once they later met in Budapest. They performed the scene by themselves, including for wide camera shots. Chalamet delivers the monologue entirely in Chicopsa. 79-80 Ferguson cited Lady Jessica undergoing the Reverend Mother process as her favorite scene, working with contortionists for the scene and comparing it to an Exorcist film. 81. Music. Main article, Dune, Part 2, Soundtrack. Hans Zimmer returned to compose the score of Dune, Part 2. Hans Zimmer returned to compose the film's score after doing so for the previous film. 82 Zimmer had composed over 90 minutes of music prior to the announcement of the film to help give Villeneuve inspiration when writing. 83 Two singles were released on February 15, 2024, by Water Tower Music, titled A Time of Quiet Between the Storms and Harvester Attack. The full soundtrack album was released on February 23. 84. Marketing. A teaser trailer for Dune, Part 2 was presented during the Warner Brothers panel at Cinemacon on April 27, 2023. 6342 first look footage of the cast in character were released online, alongside a teaser poster, on May 2, 2023. 85 The trailer was released to the public the following day. 86 Variety called it breathtaking. 87 GQ hailed the shots of Paul riding a sandworm as the standout sequence. 88 and Fangoria remarked, "If you're not excited for this one, we don't know what to tell you." 89 Chalamet and Zendaya later discussed and promoted the film at a Warner Brothers presentation at Cine Europe on June 21. 90. A second trailer was released on June 29, 2023. 91 Chris Evangelista of Slash Film was excited about the appearance of Walken as Emperor Shaddam IV. 92 Ben Travis of Empire praised the seismic and astounding, none more eye-boggling imagery, feeling the scope to be particularly expansive, and noted the monochromatic footage depicting Butler's Phaedra while calling the footage of Walken's appearance impactful. 93 Joshua Rivera of Polygon opined the trailer, simply put, rocks, and enjoyed the footage present. 94. The film was promoted during the December 2023 CCXP with Chalamet, Zendaya, Pugh, Butler, and Villeneuve, where over 10 minutes of footage was released. 95 Additional footage from Dune, Part 2 was shown during a limited IMAX theatrical re-release of Christopher Nolan's Tenet, 2020, as part of Warner Brothers' celebration for the former film's release. 96-97. Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures partnered with Xbox to provide an immersive content suite related to the film, and visual designs inspired by the film being featured on a floating controller, Xbox Series X, and a console holder. Microsoft Flight Simulator also included an expansion pack allowing players to explore Arrakis and pilot the Royal Atreides ornithopter. 98 In November 2023, the Sardaukar were added to Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, 2022, in a collaboration pack. 99 A month later, Paul and Phaedra were added as playable operators to its sequel, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, 2023, with an additional Harkonnen soldier skin being announced in March 2024. 101 In September 2023, McFarlane Toys announced a new line of 7-inch figures modeled after characters from the sequel film. 102 Legendary Comics will release Dune, Part 2, the official movie graphic novel, with the help of Kickstarter in the same way the previous adaptation was published. 103. Research conducted by Nikolai Matthews, CEO of Vivo Media, said the promotional campaign for the film on TikTok included 117 posts over a year leading up to its release, an increase from the first film's 108. Messages directly from the cast comprised 24% of the content, with videos featuring Zendaya and Chalamet generating significantly higher viewership. Red carpet content was prioritized to appeal to female audiences, a tactic that contributed to an estimated $2 million increase in the opening box office. According to the marketing research company Fanbox, 57% of TikTok users are female and hashtags such as #Zendaya have garnered billions of views, leading the core audience for Dune to grow significantly, with a 67.5% increase overall from 2.6 million to 8 million and an 84% increase among superfans. 104. Promotion in Japan also included a collaboration with Mobile Suit Gundam Seed, specifically their Freedom film. The collaboration featured an alternate version of Dune, Part 2's movie poster featuring Lakis Klein, voiced by Rie Tanaka in the original and Stephanie Sheh in the English dubbed version, and Kira Yamato, Shichir Hoshi/Max Middleman, in place of Chani and Paul respectively. 105. Popcorn Bucket Meme. In January 2024, images of a forthcoming Dune-themed popcorn bucket from AMC Theaters went viral and became an internet meme after its sandworm-inspired design was compared to an artificial vagina. 106, 107, 108. Reactions to the bucket received millions of views on the social network TikTok. 109 and jokes about it were featured on US late-night television, including a musical sketch on Saturday Night Live with cast members Marcelo Hernandez, Devin Walker, Bowen Yang, and episode host A.O. Edbury. 110, 111. The extensive online attention paid to the bucket led the media to ask much of Dune, Part 2's main cast for their reactions. 112. Denis Villeneuve said that the bucket was an insane marketing idea. 113. That brought a lot of laughter and joy. 114. Griffin Newman in the New York Times chalked up the bucket's appeal to the magic alchemy that results from an object that so many people become perversely fascinated by. 115. The product was one of several popcorn buckets AMC had designed and released alongside recent films, including character heads for Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse and burn books for Mean Girls. 115. Over a month after Dune, Part 2's release, AMC's chief content officer stated that we would have never created the bucket knowing it would be celebrated or mocked, but added that they would continue to create collectible popcorn buckets for other films. 116. At that time, the Dune popcorn buckets were being resold for as high as $175. 113. In the wake of this viral popularity, Marvel Studios announced a bucket of their own for the film Deadpool and Wolverine. 117. Lead actor Ryan Reynolds claimed to have had a hand in its design. 118. And producer Kevin Feige described it as intentionally crude and lewd. 119. However, Villeneuve said that these buckets did not favorably compare to Dune's. The Dune bucket was one of a kind, he said. 120. Release. Theatrical. Dune, Part 2 was originally scheduled to be released on October 20, 2023 121 but was delayed to November 17, 2023 122 before moving forward 2 weeks to November 3, 2023, to adjust to changes in release schedules from other studios. 123. It was later postponed by over 4 months to March 15, 2024, due to the 2023 Hollywood labor disputes. 124. After the strikes were resolved, the film moved once more up 2 weeks to March 1, 2024. 125. Following the success of Oppenheimer, 2023, in the format, Dune, Part 2 was released in the IMAX 15 perforation 70mm format to 12 venues worldwide 126 and in standard 5 perforation 70mm format to 38 venues worldwide. 127. Dune, Part 2's world premiere was hosted in the Auditorio Nacional in Mexico City on February 6, 2024. 128 Another premiere was held at Odeon Lux Leicester Square in London on February 15. 129 130. On January 16, 2024, the film was shown to a dying man in a palliative care home in the Canadian city of Saguenay, in Denis Villeneuve's native province of Quebec. 131 132 The man had expressed a wish to see Dune, Part 2 before his death. José Gagnon, the co-founder of a company aiming to accompany people at the end of life, relayed his wish to Villeneuve and Tanya Lapointe, his partner and one of the film's producers, through a viral call-out on Facebook. According to Gagnon, Villeneuve and Lapointe were very touched. 133 The pair initially offered to invite the man to see Dune, Part 2 in Los Angeles or Montreal, but since he was too weak to travel, Villeneuve eventually decided to send one of his assistants directly to Saguenay with his private laptop. 131 133 The film was screened in a room of the care facility, where everyone was required to hand in their cell phones and sign waivers. 133 The man was in too much pain to watch the entire film and stopped halfway through. 132 He eventually died on January 25. 134 This act, which the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation referred to as the actual world premiere of the film, was publicly disclosed after its theatrical release. 135 131. Home media. The film was released digitally on April 16, 2024, and Blu-ray, DVD and Ultra HD Blu-ray on May 14, 2024, by Warner Bros. Home Entertainment. 136 Dune, Part 2 became available to stream on Max on May 21, 2024. 137 It became the second best-selling film in 2024, across all home entertainment formats in the United Kingdom, with 817,000 units, also achieving first place in physical sales with 132,000 disc units worth $2.5 million. 138. Reception. Box office. Dune, Part 2 grossed $282.7 million in the United States and Canada, and $432 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $714.7 million. 3/4 The film made over $145 million in IMAX alone. 139 The Hollywood Reporter estimated that the film would break even after grossing around $500 million. 140 Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $184.3 million, accounting for production budgets, marketing, talent participations, and other costs, box office grosses, television and streaming, and home media revenues, making Dune, Part 2 the seventh most profitable blockbuster of 2024. 141. In the United States and Canada, the film's advanced ticket sales surpassed those of Oppenheimer, 2023, and it was projected to gross $65.80 million from 4,050 theaters in its opening weekend. 142 The film made $32.2 million on its first day, including $12 million from previews on February 25 and 29. IMAX screenings made up $4.5 million, 38%, of the early totals. 143 It went on to debut to $82.50 million, 144 doubling the first film's $41 million opening weekend. IMAX screenings made up $18.5 million, 23%, of the total, a record for a March release. 143 145 According to Jeff Goldstein, president of domestic distribution at Warner Bros., 146 It was much higher than any of us could predict, especially for a genre that is a hard nut to crack. 147 In its second weekend the film made $46.2 million, a 44% drop, finishing second behind newcomer Kung Fu Panda 4. It also surpassed the entire domestic gross of the first film, $108 million, in just 7 days. 148 The film made $28.5 million in its third weekend and $17.6 million in its fourth, remaining in second both times. 149-150. It also became Timothée Chalamet's highest-grossing film in a leading role, surpassing Wonka, 2023. 151. Outside the US and Canada, the film was expected to gross $85-90 million from 71 markets in its opening weekend. 142. It grossed $100.02 million in the first 3 days. 152. In its second weekend, the sci-fi epic added $81 million from 72 international markets, including a $20 million opening in China. 153. Dune, Part 2 continued to hold well, grossing $51.2 million and $30.7 million in its third and fourth weekends respectively. 154. 155. As of April 14, 2024, the highest-grossing markets were the United Kingdom, $48.1 million, China, $48.1 million, France, $41.8 million, Germany, $38.7 million, and Australia, $22 million. 156. Critical response. The film largely received rave reviews from critics, 157, 158, 159, and was praised for its visual effects and cast performances. Some reviews considered it one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. 160, 161 on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes. 92% of 456 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 8.4/10. The website's consensus reads, "Visually thrilling and narratively epic, Dune, Part 2 continues Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of the beloved sci-fi series in spectacular form." 162 Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 79 out of 100, based on 62 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. 163 audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A and to F scale, up from the first film's A, while those polled by Post-Track gave it a 94% overall positive score, with 80% saying they would definitely recommend it. 143. Richard Roeper, writing for the Chicago Sun-Times, gave the film 3 stars out of 4, praising the technical and narrative aspects, writing, "Even as we marvel at the stunning and immersive and Oscar-level cinematography, editing, score, visual effects, production design and sound in Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Part 2, we're reminded at every turn that this is an absolutely bat-bleep-sick crazy story." 164. Filmmaker Steven Spielberg praised the film, calling it one of the most brilliant science fiction films I have ever seen, while further noting that it's also filled with deeply drawn characters. Yet the dialogue is very sparse when you look at it proportionately to the running time of the film. It's such cinema. The shots are so painterly, yet there's not an angle or single setup that's pretentious. 165. 166 Filmmaker James Cameron also praised the film, calling it pure cinema and noting it as an improvement over the 1984 adaptation. 167 Filmmaker Christopher Nolan also praised the film, calling it miraculous and saying, "If, to me, Dune was like Star Wars, then Dune 2 is The Empire Strikes Back." 168 other filmmakers, including Edward Berger, Francis Ford Coppola, Adam Elliott, Jeff Fowler, Reynaldo Marcus Green, Luca Guadagnino, David Lowery, Nicholas Stoller, and Jens Silbalates cited it as among their favorite films of 2024. 169. 170 In June 2025, IndieWire ranked the film at number 95 on its list of the 100 best movies of the 2020s, so far. 171. Other reviews were more mixed. In The Hollywood Reporter, Loviak Yarki praised the film's technical aspects and performances, but found it failed to fully adapt the book's nuance on themes such as imperialism. 172 Nicholas Barber wrote for the BBC that the film is one of the most jaw-droppingly weird pieces of art house psychedelia ever to come from a major studio, finding the film's grand scale made up for its issues. 173 At the more negative end, Noah Berlatsky, writing for CNN, judged that the film had failed to present an effective anti-colonial vision by still being centered around Paul's destiny despite an increased voice of opposition from Chani. 174. Some commentators have criticized the film for failing to adequately deal with the original book's Middle East and North Africa, MENA, influences or otherwise incorporate enough representation from the region. 175. Furva Shah, writing for the UK edition of Cosmopolitan, said she felt frustrated as a Muslim viewer, criticizing the film for a lack of MENA casting among the leads despite the use of the region's culture and superficial use of Islam. 176. The New Arab's Hannah Flint also criticized the use of Arab and Islamic cultural items and lack of MENA casting, though did praise that of Swiss-Tunisian actress Souhaila Yacoub as a win for Arab representation. 177. Stephen D. Greydonis, in U.S. Catholic, gives a contrasting view of the film's religious inspirations, noting that the film draws from a number of Abrahamic religions for the purpose of critiquing faith itself, while also noting the spiritualization of ecological concerns through the Fremen and an implicit pro-life resonance through the development of Jessica's unborn daughter as a real character. 178. Accolades. Main article, List of accolades received by Dune, Part 2. Future. Main article, Dune, Part 3. Villeneuve has expressed interest in making a third film based on Dune Messiah, the second novel in the series, noting that the possibility for the film depended on the success of Dune, Part 2. 179. 180. 181. Spates stated in March 2022 that Villeneuve had plans for a third film as well as the television spin-off series Dune, Prophecy. 182. In August 2023, Villeneuve said the third film would serve as the conclusion of a trilogy. 180. He began developing a script in 2023. 183. In February 2024, Villeneuve said the script was almost finished but he did not want to rush it, citing Hollywood's tendency of focusing on release dates over a film's overall quality. 184. I want to make sure that if we go back there a third time I want it to be good and I want it to be even better than Part 2. 27. Villeneuve also considered waiting a few years for Chalamet to grow older, given that Dune Messiah is set 12 years after the events of the original novel. 185. Ahead of Dune, Part 2's release, Zimmer revealed he was already writing music for a third film after Villeneuve came in and wordlessly put a copy of Dune Messiah on his desk. 186. In April 2024, it was reported that Villeneuve and Legendary had officially begun development on the third film. 187. 188. Villeneuve has said that Messiah would be his final Dune film. 189. And said in September 2024, it would be a good idea for me to make sure that, in Messiah, there are the seeds in the project if someone wants to do something else afterwards, because they are beautiful books. They are more difficult to adapt. They become more and more esoteric. It's a bit more tricky to adapt, but I'm not closing the door. I will not do it myself, but it could happen with someone else. 190. Filming on the sequel is expected to begin in summer 2025. 191. With a scheduled release on December 18, 2026. 192. According to Deadline Hollywood, Nakoa Wolf Momoa and Ida Brooke were cast as Leto II Atreides and Ghanima Atreides. 193. See also: List of films featuring eclipses. List of films split into multiple parts. Notes. As depicted in Dune, 2021. References: Muller, Myria, March 1, 2024. How Long is Dune? Part 2. Here's the confirmed runtime of the movie. Digital Spy. Archived from the original on March 1, 2024. Retrieved March 1, 2024. Reuben, Rebecca, February 20, 2024. Dune 2 aims for blockbuster glory. How a strike delay, IMAX, and Oppenheimer's success can boost Denis Villeneuve's sequel. Variety. Archived from the original on February 20, 2024. Retrieved February 21, 2024. Dune, Part 2. Box Office Mojo. IMDb. Retrieved October 4th, 2024. Edit this at Wikidata. Dune, Part 2. The Numbers. Nash Information Services, LLC. Retrieved May 22, 2024. Phillips, Zoe G. February 16, 2024. Zendaya wears vintage Mugler couture robotic bodysuit at Dune, Part 2 premiere in London. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on February 19, 2024. Retrieved February 19, 2024. McHenry, Jackson, March 1, 2024. Decoding Dune, Part 2's ominous visions of the future. Vulture. Archived from the original on March 2, 2024. Retrieved March 2, 2024. Holub, Christian, March 1, 2024. How Dune, Part 2 handles the character of Alia and why there isn't a time jump. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on March 1, 2024. Retrieved March 10, 2024. Scharf, Zach, July 18, 2022. Dune, Part 2 starts filming, full cast and synopsis revealed, Oscar-winning Crafts team returns. Variety. Archived from the original on July 18, 2022. Retrieved July 18, 2022. Kit, Boris, January 6, 2023. Tim Blake Nelson joins Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Part 2, exclusive. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on January 6, 2023. Retrieved January 6, 2023. Scharf, Zach, March 4, 2024. Denis Villeneuve cut 2 actors from Dune 2 and one of them is heartbroken. No deleted scenes will be released. When it's not in the movie, it's dead. Variety. Archived from the original on March 8, 2024. Retrieved March 6, 2024. Kroll, Justin, November 21, 2016. Legendary lands rights to classic sci-fi novel Dune. Variety. Archived from the original on December 22, 2016. Retrieved December 22, 2016. Vertesky, Patrick, November 30, 2021. Making of Dune, how Denis Villeneuve's sci-fi epic is the culmination of a childhood dream. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on November 30, 2021. Retrieved March 31, 2022. Vilkemerson, Sarah, February 1, 2017. Denis Villeneuve officially set to direct Dune reboot. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on January 31, 2019. Retrieved February 15, 2019. Bui, Hoey Tran, March 9, 2018. At least 2 Dune films are being planned by Denis Villeneuve. /film. Archived from the original on May 22, 2018. Retrieved May 21, 2018. Bresnikan, Anthony, April 14, 2020. Behold Dune, an exclusive look at Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, and more. Vanity Fair. Archived from the original on April 14, 2020. Retrieved April 27, 2020. Desowitz, Bill, January 9, 2019. Denis Villeneuve's Dune gets editor Joe Walker. IndieWire. Archived from the original on February 2, 2019. Retrieved February 15, 2019. Campbell, Maud, February 15, 2019. Everything we know so far about Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Popular Mechanics. Archived from the original on February 15, 2019. Retrieved February 15, 2019. D'Alessandro, Anthony, February 16, 2019. Warner Bros. Dates Dune for November 2020 and more. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on February 16, 2019. Retrieved February 16, 2019. Siegel, Tatiana, April 25, 2019. Legendary CEO Joshua Grodd on pitting Pikachu against Marvel, Warner Bros. Upheaval. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on April 26, 2019. Retrieved April 26, 2019. Villeneuve, Denis, December 11, 2020. Dune director Denis Villeneuve blasts HBO Max deal. Variety. Archived from the original on December 13, 2020. Retrieved December 20, 2020. Bumbray, Chris, July 21, 2021. Dune, first 10 minutes previewed. Joblo.com archived from the original on July 21, 2021. Retrieved July 21, 2021. Mark, Christopher, August 13, 2021. Denis Villeneuve says Dune sequel will see Zendaya's Chani become the protagonist. The Playlist. Archived from the original on December 3, 2021. Retrieved August 16, 2021. Phillips, TC, August 15, 2021. Zendaya's Chani will be the protagonist in planned Dune sequel. Screen Rant. Archived from the original on August 15, 2021. Retrieved August 27, 2021. Dick, Jeremy, September 14, 2021. Dune 2 will happen if enough people stream Dune on HBO Max. Movie Web. Archived from the original on September 21, 2021. Retrieved October 2, 2021. D'Alessandro, Anthony, October 21, 2021. Dune sequel and more Sopranos, Warner Media brass on how box office from HBO Max experiment won't curb franchises. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on October 21, 2021. Retrieved October 23, 2021. Couch, Aaron, McClintock, Pamela, October 26, 2021. Dune 2 a go from Legendary, Warner Bros. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on October 26, 2021. Retrieved October 26, 2021. Bresnikan, Anthony, February 2, 2024. Dune, Part 2 is a cliffhanger, but it may be years before Part 3 arrives. Vanity Fair. Archived from the original on February 2, 2024. Retrieved February 2, 2024. Davids, Brian, October 28, 2021. Denis Villeneuve on Dune success and the road to Part 2. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on October 28, 2021. Retrieved November 1, 2021. Kroll, Justin, April 5, 2017. Forrest Gump writer Eric Roth to pen Denis Villeneuve's Dune reboot. Variety. Archived from the original on February 15, 2019. Retrieved April 27, 2020. Kit, Boris, September 5, 2018. Rebecca Ferguson in talks to star in Denis Villeneuve's Dune. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on September 6, 2018. Retrieved September 6, 2018. Elderkin, Beth, April 9, 2019. Game of Thrones language builder David Peterson is working on Denis Villeneuve's Dune. IO9. Archived from the original on April 11, 2019. Retrieved April 14, 2019. Holub, Christian, February 20, 2024. Inside the Dune Dynasty, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Austin Butler, and Florence Pugh dig into the battle for Arrakis. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on February 20th, 2024. Retrieved February 20th, 2024. Goldberg, Leslie, November 5th, 2019. Dune, the Sisterhood showrunner to exit HBO Max series. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on December 16th, 2019. Retrieved January 12th, 2020. Chitwood, Adam, June 4th, 2020. Exclusive, Dune DP Greg Fraser on shooting Denis Villeneuve's epic sci-fi adaptation. Collider. Archived from the original on June 4th, 2020. Retrieved June 4th, 2020. Barr, Lindsay, February 9th, 2024. In Dune, Part 2, filmmaker Denis Villeneuve realizes a lifetime dream. AP News. Archived from the original on February 9th, 2024. Retrieved February 9th, 2024. Chitwood, Adam, April 12th, 2021. Dune CO writer Eric Roth says the sci-fi adaptation is spectacular, talks sequel. Collider. Archived from the original on April 12th, 2021. Retrieved April 15th, 2021. Masuda, Lauren, August 19th, 2021. Dune 2 script is being written, reveals Denis Villeneuve. Collider. Archived from the original on August 19th, 2021. Retrieved August 27th, 2021. Travis, Ben, November 16th, 2021. Dune spoiler interview, Denis Villeneuve on the ending, Paul's dreams, and what's coming in Part 2. Empire. Archived from the original on November 16th, 2021. Retrieved March 9th, 2023. King, Jack, March 15th, 2022. Dune, Part 2, Denis Villeneuve says script is done, crew is prepping, and to expect more IMAX footage in sequel exclusive. Collider. Archived from the original on May 29th, 2022. Retrieved March 16th, 2022. Dune, Part 2. Writers Guild of America West. Archived from the original on April 21st, 2023. Retrieved July 6th, 2023. Bresnikan, Anthony, April 27th, 2023. Dune, Part 2, an exclusive first look at the saga's epic conclusion. Vanity Fair. Archived from the original on April 27th, 2023. Retrieved April 27th, 2023. Gardner, Chris, April 25th, 2023. Dune, Part 2 debuts trailer selling it as an epic war movie at Cinemacon. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on April 25th, 2023. Retrieved April 27th, 2023. Bui, Hoey Tran, March 1st, 2024. How Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Part 2 rejects the white savior myth. In verse. Archived from the original on March 1st, 2024. Retrieved March 10th, 2024. Keats, Emma, March 1st, 2024. Denis Villeneuve explains why he changed Chani in Dune, Part 2. The AV Club. Archived from the original on March 1st, 2024. Retrieved March 10th, 2024. Sheo, Lucas, February 4th, 2024. Dune 2 fixes an original book problem, says Denis Villeneuve. Frank Herbert was disappointed. Screen Rant. Archived from the original on February 4th, 2024. Retrieved February 7th, 2024. Weintraub, Steve, Jones, Tamara, February 13th, 2024. Denis Villeneuve breaks down his favorite Dune, Part 2 scene. Collider. Archived from the original on February 15th, 2024. Retrieved February 14th, 2024. Wong, Henry, February 28th, 2024. Denis Villeneuve says Akira inspired Dune, Part 2. Esquire. Archived from the original on March 5, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Farley, Jordan, January 29, 2024. Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya say they're keen for Dune 3, as Denis Villeneuve teases Part 2's ending. Total film. Archived from the original on January 29, 2024. Retrieved January 30, 2024. Bresnikan, Anthony, February 22, 2024. The Making of Austin Butler's Sexy Psychopath in Dune, Part 2. Vanity Fair. Archived from the original on February 23, 2024. Retrieved February 23, 2024. Kroll, Justin, March 8, 2022. Dune Part 2, Florence Pugh eyed for Princess Irulan role in upcoming sequel. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 8, 2022. Retrieved March 8, 2022. Kroll, Justin, March 10, 2022. Dune, Part 2, Austin Butler eyed to play Phaedra in upcoming sequel. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on May 25, 2022. Retrieved March 10, 2022. St. Clair, Joshua, December 8, 2022. Austin Butler trained for 4 months for Dune, Part 2. Men's Health. Archived from the original on December 8, 2022. Retrieved January 25, 2024. Travis, Ben, August 26, 2023. Austin Butler's Phaedra in Dune, Part 2 is a cross between a psychopath killer, a snake, and Mick Jagger. Exclusive image. Empire. Archived from the original on August 26, 2023. Retrieved January 25, 2024. Moore, Julian, Smart, Jack, January 25, 2024. Austin Butler teases his ugly and bald Dune, Part 2 villain. People. Archived from the original on January 26, 2024. Retrieved January 25, 2024. Austin Butler was inspired by Gary Oldman and Heath Ledger for Dune, Part 2 role. Enemy. March 7, 2024. Archived from the original on March 9, 2024. Retrieved March 9, 2024. Kit, Boris, May 12, 2022. Christopher Walken joins Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya in Dune, Part 2. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on May 12, 2022. Retrieved May 12, 2022. Kroll, Justin, June 21, 2022. Dune Part 2, Léa Seydoux to play Lady Margot in upcoming sequel for Legendary. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on June 21, 2022. Retrieved June 21, 2022. Kroll, Justin, July 14, 2022. Dune Part 2, Suhala Yacoub latest to join Legendary sequel. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on July 14, 2022. Retrieved July 14, 2022. Jackson, Angelique, Yasmin, KJ, February 15, 2024. Surprise. Anya Taylor-Joy confirms Dune, Part 2 role at London premiere. Variety. Archived from the original on February 15, 2024. Holub, Christian, February 15, 2024. Anya Taylor-Joy confirms internet rumors about Dune 2 role. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on February 16, 2024. Retrieved February 16, 2024. D'Alessandro, Anthony, July 3, 2022. Dune, Part 2 ramping up production this month. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on July 4, 2022. Retrieved July 5, 2022. Mishra, Shrishti, July 18, 2022. Dune, Part 2, production begins on epic sci-fi sequel. Collider. Archived from the original on July 18, 2022. Retrieved July 18, 2022. Lang, Brent, April 25, 2023. Dune, Part 2 debuts breathtaking trailer. Timothée Chalamet rides giant sandworm, assumes rightful role as Fremen leader. Variety. Archived from the original on April 25, 2023. Retrieved April 25, 2023. Vivarelli, Nick, November 16, 2022. Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell will eat you alive. How Bones and All became the year's sexiest cannibal love story. Variety. Archived from the original on November 16, 2022. Retrieved March 9, 2023. Edwards, Belen, March 24, 2024. Sandworms and Solar Eclipses, 5 Things We Learned from the Art and Soul of Dune, Part 2. Mashable. Archived from the original on March 24, 2024. Retrieved April 10, 2024. Keegan, Rebecca, January 8, 2025. If you show any doubt, they'll eat you alive. Ridley Scott, Denis Villeneuve, and the director Roundtable. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on January 9, 2025. Retrieved January 11, 2025. Christopher, Charles, October 24, 2022. Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Part 2 begins filming in Abu Dhabi next month. Game Rant. Archived from the original on October 31, 2022. Retrieved October 31, 2022. Sharf, Zach, November 16, 2022. Timothée Chalamet raves about Florence Pugh and Zendaya in Dune, Part 2, they're seriously incredible. Variety. Archived from the original on November 16, 2022. Retrieved March 9, 2023. Nicholson, Amy, February 21, 2024. Denis Villeneuve and Timothée Chalamet, Dune Dynasty. The New York Times. Archived from the original on February 24, 2024. Retrieved March 17, 2024. Chuba, Kirsten, February 26, 2024. Why Denis Villeneuve kept Anya Taylor-Joy's Dune, Part 2 casting a secret. Hollywood is the most gossipy town on earth. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on February 27, 2024. Retrieved February 26, 2024. Z. Michaela, December 12, 2022. Dune, Part 2 wraps production, Timothée Chalamet announces. Variety. Archived from the original on December 12, 2022. Retrieved December 12, 2022. Weintraub, Steve, Jones, Tamara, February 6, 2024. Zendaya and Florence Pugh reveal the Dune 2 scene they were nervous to film. Collider. Archived from the original on February 15, 2024. Retrieved February 14, 2024. Tang-K, Jazz, March 2, 2024. Dune 2, how artisans pulled off shooting the arena fight scene with infrared technology. Variety. Archived from the original on March 2, 2024. Retrieved March 3, 2024. Holub, Christian, March 3, 2024. Inside That Epic Dune, Part 2 duel between Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on March 3, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Sharf, Zach, March 4, 2024. Austin Butler improvised that creepy Dune 2 kiss and says Stellan Skarsgård is down for anything. He's the best. Variety. Archived from the original on March 4, 2024. Retrieved March 10, 2024. Holub, Christian, February 20, 2024. Welcome to the Worm Unit, How Dune 2 Pulled Off Sandworm Riding. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on February 20, 2024. Retrieved February 26, 2024. Sheo, Lucas, February 4, 2024. Paul's Sandworm Ride took 3 months to film practically, Dune 2's Timothée Chalamet talks process. Screen Rant. Archived from the original on February 4, 2024. Retrieved February 4, 2024. Lucy, Germain, January 26, 2024. Timothée Chalamet is self-conscious about his sandworm riding in Dune 2. Gizmodo. Archived from the original on January 26, 2024. Retrieved February 4, 2024. Barr, Lindsay, February 13, 2024. Pain, Sweat, and Sandworms, in Dune 2 Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and the cast rise to the challenge. Associated Press News. Archived from the original on February 13, 2024. Retrieved February 13, 2024. Weintraub, Steve, Jones, Tamara, February 5, 2024. Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler discuss Dune, Part 2 in their brutal fight scene. Collider. Archived from the original on February 15, 2024. Retrieved February 14, 2024. Weintraub, Steve, Jones, Tamara, February 8, 2024. Rebecca Ferguson tried and failed to get this Bene Gesserit detail into Dune, Part 2. Collider. Archived from the original on February 9, 2024. Retrieved February 8, 2024. Hans Zimmer to return for Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Part 2. Film Music Reporter. October 26, 2021. Archived from the original on October 26, 2021. Retrieved October 26, 2021. Desowitz, Bill, October 20, 2021. Dune, How Composer Hans Zimmer Invented a Retro-Future Musical Sound for the Arrakis Desert Planet. IndieWire. Archived from the original on October 30, 2021. Retrieved October 30, 2021. Dune, Part 2, Original Motion Picture Soundtrack, music by Hans Zimmer available February 23 RD. Business Wire. February 15, 2024. Archived from the original on February 15, 2024. Retrieved February 15, 2024. N. Tim, Zach, May 2, 2023. Dune, Part 2 teaser, first look footage and poster for Denis Villeneuve's star-studded sequel. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on May 2, 2023. Retrieved May 3, 2023. N. Tim, Zach, May 3, 2023. Dune, Part 2 trailer, Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya return to the desert in Denis Villeneuve's star-studded sequel. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on May 3, 2023. Retrieved May 3, 2023. Lang, Brent, April 25, 2023. Dune, Part 2 debuts breathtaking trailer, Timothée Chalamet rides giant sandworm, assumes rightful role as Fremen leader. Variety. Archived from the original on April 25, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Goodman, William, May 3, 2023. Timothée Chalamet goes worm surfing in the action-packed trailer for Dune, Part 2. GQ. Archived from the original on May 3, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Wampler, Scott, May 3, 2023. The Dune, Part 2 trailer hitches a ride with a giant sandworm. Fangoria. Archived from the original on May 14, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Tartaglione, Nancy, June 21, 2023. Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet bring the star power to Warner Bros. Lineup presentation Cine Europe. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on June 21, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Moro, Jordan, June 29, 2023. Dune 2 trailer, Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya fall in love and wage war. First look at Christopher Walken's Emperor. Variety. Archived from the original on June 29, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Evangelista, Chris, June 29, 2023. Dune, Part 2 trailer, What's Spice Got to Dune with It? /film. Archived from the original on June 29, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Travis, Ben, June 29, 2023. Dune Part 2's epic trailer teases Paul's dark destiny in Christopher Walken's Emperor. Empire. Archived from the original on June 29, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Rivera, Joshua, June 29, 2023. Dune, Part 2 is going to turn me into a big bad desert boy. Polygon. Archived from the original on June 29, 2023. Retrieved June 29, 2023. Masato, Eric, December 4, 2023. We saw the first 10 minutes of Dune, Part 2, here's what we learned. Collider. Archived from the original on December 5, 2023. Retrieved January 5, 2024. Barr, Lindsay, January 25, 2024. Christopher Nolan's Tenet returns to theaters, in IMAX 70mm, with new Dune, Part 2 footage. The Washington Post. ISSN 0190-8286. Retrieved January 25, 2024. D'Alessandro, Anthony, January 25, 2024. Christopher Nolan's Tenet heads back to cinemas in February, Dune, Part 2 to be teased on latest reissue. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on January 25, 2024. Retrieved January 25, 2024. Stefan, Katzi, February 13, 2024. Dune, Part 2 partners with Xbox 4 Flight Simulator content and custom console design. Variety. Archived from the original on February 14, 2024. Retrieved February 13, 2024. Doster, SE, October 31, 2023. Dune bundle arrives in Call of Duty, MW2 and Warzone tomorrow. GameSpot. Archived from the original on October 31, 2023. Retrieved March 6, 2024. Spangler, Todd, December 14, 2023. Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler's Dune 2 characters take in-film rivalry to Call of Duty. Variety. Archived from the original on December 14, 2023. Retrieved March 6, 2024. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3 and Call of Duty, Warzone Season 2 Reloaded content drop, what you need to know. Call of Duty blog. March 4, 2024. Archived from the original on March 4, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Mishra, Shrishti, September 23, 2023. Dune, Part 2, Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler face off in new McFarlane Toys set. Collider. Archived from the original on September 30, 2023. Retrieved March 10, 2024. Johnston, Rich, March 12, 2024. Comparing both current Dune adaptations as comic books. Bleeding Cool. Archived from the original on March 13, 2024. Retrieved March 14, 2024. Fry, Michaela, April 1, 2024. Dune, Part 2 TikTok marketing helps power box office success. Variety. Archived from the original on April 1, 2024. Retrieved April 1, 2024. Komatsu, Mikikazu, March 14, 2024. Gundam Seed Freedom Film shares stunning collab visual with Dune, Part 2. Crunchyroll. Archived from the original on March 14, 2024. Retrieved March 14, 2024. Yang, Angela, January 28, 2024. Dune, Part 2 is going viral for its sandworm replica popcorn bucket that some joke is NSFW. NBC News. Archived from the original on January 28, 2024. Retrieved January 30, 2024. Keats, Emma, January 26, 2024. Can we say something about the Dune 2 popcorn bucket without everyone getting mad? The AV Club. Archived from the original on January 26, 2024. Retrieved February 4, 2024. McCardle, Tommy, February 2, 2024. Dune, Part 2 stars react to AMC Theaters' viral sandworm popcorn bucket, that's not okay. People. Archived from the original on February 3, 2024. Retrieved February 4, 2024. Brejel, Sarah, March 5, 2024. Why is the Dune 2 popcorn bucket going viral? BBC. Archived from the original on March 26, 2024. Retrieved April 11, 2024. Davis, Wes, April 10, 2024. AMC Theaters' top brass has misgivings about the Dune popcorn bucket. The Verge. Archived from the original on April 11, 2024. Retrieved April 11, 2024. Gribor, Matt, February 3, 2024. SNL, Marcelo Hernandez, Ao Edbury and more lose virginity to Dune popcorn bucket in musical sketch. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on February 4, 2024. Retrieved February 4, 2024. Kyle, Meredith B., February 7, 2024. Dune, Part 2 cast reacts to the viral popcorn bucket, exclusive. Entertainment Tonight. Archived from the original on February 27, 2024. Retrieved April 11, 2024. Nicholson, Amy, April 17, 2024. Denis Villeneuve answers all your questions about Dune, Part 2. The New York Times. Archived from the original on May 11, 2024. Retrieved September 1, 2024. Nicholson, Amy, February 21, 2024. Denis Villeneuve and Timothée Chalamet, Dune Dynasty. The New York Times. Archived from the original on February 24, 2024. Retrieved April 18, 2024. Zuckerman, Esther, March 3, 2024. The Dune popcorn bucket and the golden age of movie merch. The New York Times. Archived from the original on April 10, 2024. Retrieved April 11, 2024. Reuben, Rebecca, April 8, 2024. AMC Theaters and other cinema owners weigh in on ticket prices, post-strike box office and the Dune popcorn bucket. Variety. Archived from the original on April 10, 2024. Retrieved April 11, 2024. Morrow, Justin, May 30, 2024. Deadpool and Wolverine unveils sexual, Dune-inspired popcorn bucket. Variety. Archived from the original on May 30, 2024. Retrieved May 30, 2024. Travis, Emlyn, July 25, 2024. Ryan Reynolds jokes fans will F the Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on September 2, 2024. Retrieved September 3, 2024. Chirac, Jamie, April 11, 2024. Deadpool and Wolverine getting intentionally crude popcorn bucket, Kevin Feige reveals. Comicbook.com archived from the original on April 12, 2024. Retrieved April 12, 2024. Eddie, Cheryl, June 27, 2024. Denis Villeneuve knows Deadpool and Wolverine's popcorn bucket can't compare to Shai-Hulud. Gizmodo. Retrieved September 3, 2024. Fooster, Jeremy, October 26, 2021. Dune, Part 2 greenlit, set for 2023 theatrical release by Warner Bros. And Legendary. The Wrap. Archived from the original on October 26, 2021. Retrieved October 26, 2021. D'Alessandro, Anthony, June 30, 2022. Dune, Part 2 moves to pre-Thanksgiving 2023, Godzilla Kong event sequel dated. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on July 4, 2022. Retrieved June 30, 2022. D'Alessandro, Anthony, October 11, 2022. Dune, Part 2 going earlier in November 2023. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on October 21, 2022. Retrieved October 11, 2022. D'Alessandro, Anthony, August 24, 2023. Dune, Part 2 moves to 2024, latest big pick to shift during strike, Aquaman 2, Wonka and Color Purple stick to 2023. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on August 24, 2023. Retrieved August 24, 2023. Scharf, Zach, November 17, 2023. Dune, Part 2 release date moves up 2 weeks to kick off March 2024. Variety. Archived from the original on November 17, 2023. Retrieved November 17, 2023. McPherson, Chris, November 19, 2023. Dune, Part 2 will play in IMAX 70mm. Collider. Archived from the original on November 20, 2023. Retrieved December 9, 2023. Dune, Part 2. in70mm.com archived from the original on March 12, 2024. Retrieved March 12, 2024. Roxanne, Gabrielle, February 7, 2024. Zendaya and Florence Pugh slay the red carpet at Dune, Part 2 premiere in Mexico City. People. Archived from the original on February 9, 2024. Retrieved February 15, 2024. Nanji, Noor, February 15, 2024. Dune 2 stars Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya thrill fans at premiere. BBC. Archived from the original on February 15, 2024. Retrieved February 15, 2024. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Florence Pugh shimmer against the sand at Dune, Part 2 world premiere in London. The Hollywood Reporter. February 15, 2024. Archived from the original on February 16, 2024. Retrieved February 15, 2024. Dune, Part 2 premiered at Quebec Palliative Care Home to fulfill man's dying wish. CBC News. March 3, 2024. Archived from the original on March 4, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Timsit, Annabelle, March 4, 2024. A man wanted to see Dune 2 before he died. The director sent his laptop. The Washington Post. Retrieved March 8, 2024. Carrier, Léa, March 3, 2024. Un cinéphile du Saguenay a pu voir Dune, Part 2 avant de s'éteindre. La Presse, in French. Archived from the original on March 4, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Rossignol, Emmeline 1961-2024. Coopérative Funéraire du Fjord, in French. January 26, 2024. Archived from the original on March 15, 2024. Retrieved March 15, 2024. Un première mondiale à Saguenay de Dune, Deuxième partie comme sujet de fin de vie. Radio-Canada, in French. March 1, 2024. Archived from the original on March 4, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Tingley, Anna, April 9, 2024. Dune, Part 2 gets digital, Blu-ray release dates. Variety. Archived from the original on April 9, 2024. Retrieved April 9, 2024. Kuznikov, Selena, May 14, 2024. Dune, Part 2 sets max release date. Variety. Archived from the original on May 14, 2024. Retrieved May 14, 2024. Ramachandran, Naaman, January 27, 2025. Wonka, Dune 2, Oppenheimer Drive UK Home Entertainment to record $6.4 billion year. Variety. Archived from the original on January 27, 2025. Retrieved January 27, 2025. IMAX touts 2025 slate, biggest ever filmed with its cameras includes Mi. 8, Superman, Legacy Antron, Ares. Deadline Hollywood. May 16, 2014. Archived from the original on May 16, 2024. Retrieved May 17, 2024. McClintock, Pamela, March 5, 2024. Box office, Dune, Part 2 makes major gains with younger adults. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on March 5, 2024. Retrieved March 6, 2024. D'Alessandro, Anthony, April 25, 2025. Dune, Part 2 provides spice to box office as number 7 most valuable blockbuster of 2024. Deadline Hollywood. Retrieved April 25, 2025. D'Alessandro, Anthony, Tartaglione, Nancy, February 27, 2024. Dune, Part 2 will dust off the box office with $170 million global debut preview. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on February 27, 2024. Retrieved February 28, 2024. D'Alessandro, Anthony, March 3, 2024. Dune, Part 2, how sci-fi space worm epic reared head to $81.5 million opening after strike release delay Sunday box office update. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 2, 2024. Retrieved March 3, 2024. Dune, Part 2 passes Oppenheimer opening weekend at domestic box office with $82.50 million. CNN. March 4, 2024. Archived from the original on March 7, 2024. Retrieved March 5, 2024. Reuben, Rebecca, March 3, 2024. Dune 2 jolts box office with mighty $81.5 million debut. Variety. Archived from the original on March 3, 2024. Retrieved March 3, 2024. Warner Brothers Divisional Executives. Warner Brothers Pictures. Warner Brothers archived from the original on September 9, 2018. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Rothenberg, Eva, March 3, 2024. Dune 2 jolts sleepy box office with $81.5 million opening. CNN. Archived from the original on March 5, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. D'Alessandro, Anthony, March 9, 2024. Kung Fu Panda 4 KOing $52 million, second biggest franchise debut Friday box office. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 8, 2024. Retrieved March 9, 2024. D'Alessandro, Anthony, March 17, 2024. Kung Fu Panda 4 second weekend at $31M and expected to karate chop Sandworm Saturday AM update. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 16, 2024. Retrieved March 17, 2024. D'Alessandro, Anthony, March 24, 2024. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire propels franchise past $1 billion as sequel opens to $45M plus Sunday AM update. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 28, 2024. Retrieved March 24, 2024. Dune 2 box office breaks global record for Timothée Chalamet. Screen Rant. April 6, 2024. Archived from the original on April 6, 2024. Retrieved April 9, 2024. Tartaglione, Nancy, March 4, 2024. Dune, Part 2 worldwide opening spicier at $182.5 million with actuals international box office update. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 3, 2024. Retrieved March 4, 2024. Tartaglione, Nancy, March 10, 2024. Dune, Part 2 rises to $367.5 million global. Kung Fu Panda 4 kicks off with $80.5 million WW as early overseas play begins international box office. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 24, 2024. Retrieved March 10, 2024. Tartaglione, Nancy. Dune, Part 2 nears $500 million global, dusting 2021 movie. Kung Fu Panda 4 punches in at $177 million as rollout expands international box office. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 20, 2024. Retrieved March 17, 2023. Tartaglione, Nancy, March 25, 2024. Kung Fu Panda 4 nears $300 million global, Dune 2 closing in on $600 million, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire traps $16M and in Phase 1 overseas bow international box office. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on March 27, 2024. Retrieved March 25, 2024. Tartaglione, Nancy, April 15, 2024. Godzilla x Kong roars past $436 million WW. Kung Fu Panda 4 tops $450 million. Latest Detective Conan huge in Japan international box office. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on April 15, 2024. Retrieved April 15, 2024. Rufo, Yasmin, February 22, 2024. Dune, Part 2 like no other blockbuster, say impressed critics. BBC. Archived from the original on February 23, 2024. Retrieved February 23, 2024. Murray, Emily, March 1, 2024. Dune 2 ending explained, Holy War, Chani's future and how it sets up Part 3. Total film. Games Radar Plus. Archived from the original on March 3, 2024. Retrieved March 3, 2024. It has been unleashed onto the world to much critical acclaim already. Fooster, Jeremy, February 28. 2024. Dune 2 box office preview, why the sequel is poised to be a hit. The Wrap. Archived from the original on March 3, 2024. Retrieved March 3, 2024. Scharf, Zach. February 15, 2024. Dune, Part 2 First Reactions.